How y'all doing? Another episode of the Stoop. Welcome, welcome. Appreciate you guys. Let's get my bro in here. Episode 24. How y'all doing?
Yo. What up, sir? What's going on?
How you doing, man?
Chilling. I can't complain, man. I can't complain. What's going on, y'all? What up? I hope everybody is in good spirits, safe and healthy this evening. Today is Thursday, September 10th, 2020. This is another episode of From the Front Lines. My name is Gavin Webb. I am the co-founder and producer here at STOOP55, and I'm joined here with my bro, Dr. Cooper.
Hey,
What's going on, Dr. Cooper? He is the Director of International Emergency Care at a hospital currently in New Orleans. So please ask him questions if you have anything of concern when it comes to the public health crisis and anything pertaining to our discussion today, which is Black Business, Part 2, serving to support and sustain the community. We are delighted to have our guest today, Andrea Darling. She is the owner of WKDXs radio station, and she's also an actor. So it's going to be an interesting talk tonight, y'all. But before we get started, pitch a question to Dr. Cooper pertaining to some Black business.
What's up?
What local Black business do you find to be essential to the community, you think? Keeping it local tonight, keeping it local.
What is essential to the Black community particularly?
Yeah, or to the community in general.
I
would rather Black community if you can make it, a little bit more.
I think what has been really essential specifically for the Black community has, I think, when we go to barbershops and hair salons, is very much is a social interaction for us, and to a certain people, to a set of people, it is like a coming of age type thing. You know what I mean? I remember going to the barbershop, learning about things I wasn't learning about at home. Right? You really get exposed to everybody. That's sort of, the barber really was like a second person in there to educate me on what was going on in the streets to a certain extent, right? You learn a lot of your trash talking there. You learn a lot of how to build up your guard. A lot of that stuff is there, a little almost like street knowledge to a certain extent. You could be open to them as you are not with your family to a certain degree. So I think from that aspect, that's probably one of the most vital things, I think, to the Black community. How about you? What do you think?
I mean, I would have to say the barbershop as well for a lot of the same reasons. I was talking to, one of our producers the other day when it comes to like getting a haircut, and I didn't necessarily think that, getting a cut was self-care. I looked at it more as like, all right, I'm not trying to look dusty or whatever, but it being a place for self-care, it being a place for, guidance from your barber when it comes to, politics, street talk, or whatever in between, to your point, is essential. And like bringing it back to, that's like the first place, or one of the first places as a child that you go to and you see like a sense of community, especially, barbershops with like Black men. And to see that and to be a part of that at an early age, I feel like is essential to any community, right? You got to start early. So,
absolutely.
I mean, for sure, the barbershop, but I wish there was more Black banks as well. Let's try to get some Black banks going at some point. But yeah, bro. I'm excited to see this, how this conversation goes, though.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. Convo too. Thanks for being around, son. I'll see you next time.
Sure.
I'll do.
Later.
All right, everybody. We're getting ready for our guest for today, Miss Andrea Darling. She's owner of KDKX Radio. Let me say that correctly. Entrepreneur herself. And so really excited to get her take on things. Joining us on the stoop. All right. was passionate.
I'm gonna need you to get them call letters right, honey. I'm gonna need you to get the call letters right,
But
honey.
as soon as I said that, I was
It's
like,
Andrea, darling. Let it roll off your
my
tongue.
neck. She gonna come my neck.
The reason why I stress the call letters so much because they're very, very important. They stand for Frederick Douglass, Martin Luther King Jr., and Malcolm X. So many radio stations, their call letters are really insignificant. Their frequency is very insignificant, but we got a high frequency and we stand for something really important.
I dig it. Thank you for that correction. It needs to be. No, that's much appreciated. Much appreciated. As soon as I was like, she's gonna come for me. I know. But I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did. Please. Well, first, welcome. Thank you so much for being on the
for
Stoop.
having me.
I think this is going to be a great conversation. I think you have a lot to teach us while we're here. Do you mind introducing yourself, letting the people know on the Stoop who you are, a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Hey, everyone. My name is Andrea Langston. I go by Andrea Darling because I'm a bit dramatic at times, which is perfect because I'm also an actor as well as a business owner. Yeah, I'm from Rochester, New York, honey. I go back and forth from Rochester to LA. And yeah, I don't know what else. My favorite color is purple. I don't know what else to say.
All right. Again, a little behind the scenes work. That's what we like to see here. That's not a problem. So, there's so many things to touch on with what you do on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. What does a typical day look like for you first? And then we'll kind of step out from there.
The typical day, it just changes every day. You just kind of have to be like on high alert, whenever something comes up, you got to be ready to adapt to it. But generally I'm up around like 4:30 in the morning so I can get my prayer meditation workouts in. And then I start checking my emails and see, checking with clients and then checking my other email for auditions. And then going through my day with just different meetings and making sure my team is just like on the right track and has all the tools that they need to really be successful.
Got it. And in terms of the radio station in and of itself, did you always know you were going to be involved in it as you got older? Like how?
Yeah. Well, see, I'm an only grandchild and I'm an only child. So I just like growing up, I just didn't I had dreams of doing other things, but I knew like what the station meant to the Black community of Rochester kind of superseded my kind of like childhood fantasies. That's why acting was always so important to me because it was something I could juggle with radio, But yeah, I'm from day one. Like I remember even like when people would ask, like when you're in school and they're just like trying to help you understand family tree and things, and they say, well, what's a family heirloom? I was like, well, we don't really have like jewelry or anything, but I have a business. Like I just know that's what I'm gonna like grow into. So yeah, from ages, I think I was 4 when my dad had me doing commercials and I was like 3. But then I started learning production and running the board around 5, 6 years old, like kindergarten, 1st grade. And then I just kept going from there. So it's just in my blood. It'd be an injustice to not keep it alive.
I hear that. And it sounds like to be doing those things at such a young age.
Yeah.
Other kids your age were doing that? Do you find like you had like a special experience in doing that?
I don't know. When you live in your life, you don't think anything of it. You just think that's just how things are. So yeah, I still like went to camp and I still played, but I was also helping my mom with her real estate and construction, my dad with the radio station and event production. And, I got gymnastics, basketball, track, and acting in between all that.
Okay. All right. How much, with speaking of that, because it seems like your parents and your family unit was very much involved in you becoming an entrepreneur. Yeah. How did they help you kind of, what things were most important in your life growing up that brought you from aspiring entrepreneur to where you're at right now, actually doing it?
Well, I don't think I just have never seen anything else. Both of my parents are entrepreneurs. My grandparents all 4 of them were entrepreneurs. Like my grandma owned like a corner store. My grandfather obviously had the radio station. My other grandfather was in engineering and architecture. So I just saw, I don't know anything else. I never in a million years, and that was kind of my issue with college because I didn't have a choice. I had to go to school because, our grandparents weren't afforded the same opportunities that we are. So I had to take the opportunity to go. But I hated it because they don't teach you how to be your own person. They teach you how to work for someone else. And that idea was so strange and foreign to me when I got to school, because entrepreneurship is the only way I know. Because, you know, my grandparents especially, are a bit radical. We're like, you don't need to be working for no white man. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like, on my own. But yeah, it's just in me.
Go ahead, finish.
No, it's just in me. I don't know anything different.
Wow, it seems like it's so important to have those kind of idols and those mentors, I think, growing up for whichever road you choose and whatever
Yeah.
you be in your longer era. So in general, what do you feel like the position your radio station takes in the Black community?
Oh, I mean, we try to be the outlet for the Black community. I mean, that's our mission. We were started with that premise in mind. So you have to think, when we were started, it was right after the riots. So very much like what's going on today. So the riots were in '64. My grandfather was an insurance man, and he was trying his hardest to raise money to start the station. So he got other community leaders to like help him get this idea off the ground. By '68, we were able to get our licensing. But so we went down to like DC and like got everything situated. This is unheard of like someone like starting from scratch. But the whole premise of why we felt the need that this had to be done is because the riots were going on. I call it a rebellion because Black people are upset. We've been upset. And it makes it even worse when you have the media portraying us with these like animalistic type of like, they use very specific words, and they don't highlight us in with positive stories. And so that was the entire, you know, idea behind WDKX, is giving black people, specifically Black people and people of color, a platform.
Got it. I got it. Well, that's it. I almost feel like it's helpful for the Black community to help control the narrative, and that's what exactly the radio station very much does.
Yes,
How how do you feel like the radio station does that in terms of controlling the narrative? What kind of things do you try to keep in mind?
Yeah, so we're always like, we have positive news segments that we do on air and online, where we highlight different kids doing great things in the community. We do positive affirmations every day. Bless you. And so we just constantly are just reinforcing the light that is within our people. And so, yeah, we just want to constantly be pushing that and pumping that and living it.
Wow, that's to a certain degree, it's great. I think it's amazing. Do you feel, as a family-owned business, you have to continue the legacy? Do you feel any pressure from that? Anything of that nature?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. I don't really have an explanation, and yeah, I do. Yeah. It's just me. Like, if I don't do it, then who is gonna do it?
Oh, right. So say if you had children, would you want your children to do the same thing?
Hell yeah. Yeah, I would. I would love to see a continued legacy. I'd like to see them expound upon it, of course, but yeah, that would be dope. I would love to just keep it, you know, within the culture, within the family.
Yeah, I hear that. How has anything changed or become any less relevant now, like moving from the '60s to the radio station, what they're doing now? Do you feel like anything has changed, or do you feel like it's been more relevant or anything along those lines?
I don't really think, I mean, I don't know. I wasn't alive in the '60s, so I don't know. But from my lifetime, I don't think so, because the relationship that we've fostered with people of our community, it just seems like it's gotten stronger. You know, the narrative is that radio is dying, but it's like when you look at studies, like, well, you know, like when you read certain studies and they say like, oh, like this medicine is like best for this, and then you look at who's paying for the research. The people that have that, exactly, the people that pay for that research are the people that are in streaming or in different facets of entertainment. But when you look at numbers of radio, you still have over 92% of Americans that listen to radio regularly. And so I think that when we when you look at the data, when you look at the relationship that radio has, because I always like to say radio was the first social media. You know, before people could go on Facebook or Twitter and say their thoughts, they used to just go to the radio stations, you know, or if they wanted to see like where the party was at, they didn't have to go check on their timeline. They would just call us. They still do. People still do. Like, yo, DKs, where's the party at?
Mm-hmm.
So as long as we have that really, that it feels like an interpersonal relationship with each individual that's listening, we ain't going nowhere.
I got it. And then speaking of that, how did you expand into the digital age? What are some things the radio station had to change?
Yeah, so that was really all me when, so like, you know, we grew up when social media was coming up. My dad's like a super nerd, so he's really into like coding and developing stuff for our website, which is really dope. But the aspect of social media I thought was something that was super relevant that radio needed to be involved in. And I've joked, like other owners have like joked around with me. They're like, well, yeah, when you figure like that out, let us know. But I really feel as if I have, because I have our voice of on social media. I was able to take it from nothing when I was 17 when I started DKXs social media, and I have over like 80,000, 100,000 followers across all our platforms now. And it really helps just people stay connected with us. You know, if you don't have your radio on and but you're on Instagram, we get people to really just cycle back to listen in, and they can listen in on their phones. We've had internet radio, like we've had streaming since like the 90s, I feel like, since I was a kid. My dad figured out how to do that. But yeah, I feel like technology and radio have just gone hand in hand, especially with our family, because my dad and I are just really into everything dealing with computers.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So that probably helped out a bit. Just to remind everybody, please drop your questions for our wonderful guest, Miss Darling, owner of WKDX Radio and actor. Speaking a little bit about your acting career, has it been changing at all now in terms of, I mean, there's been a great push with this social unrest that's really relevant, that people are trying to bring more minorities to the forefront, which is great. Have you been finding that a little bit more in your acting career?
Yeah, and commercial more so than theatrical. I feel like they're more so calling for like black women.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of like theatrical, it's still pretty slow, so it's hard to say. I think when things kind of like get back to normal, I'll see more of a difference. But yeah, I feel like in my commercial auditions, like brands that I never thought would like ask for a black girl, I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, so I see like they're trying to make the change, but I still think that, like, you know, it's great to have people that look like us, but I think it's also really important to have people that look like us writing the stories as well, you know, and like behind the scenes. I think that's really where I would like to see some more changes done within entertainment, is like getting black people in more, you know, more behind the scenes, behind the camera, behind the pen, but, you know, behind all of it.
Got it. Do you feel like this change is going to be sustainable? I'm just curious. You said it already, sis. You good?
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, I think it's trendy right now, you know. But I would love to see there be some concrete changes and more open arms for people of color.
Exactly. Yeah, me
We'll
too.
see in 5 to 10 years. We'll
Exactly. It'll be written about, I think, in the history textbooks, but I think it'll be like a dot, and then we kind of go back.
And they'll keep pushing. Let's hope not, but we'll see.
Yeah. Have you been taking any of your kind of acting skills towards being a host on the radio station? Does that
I
translate?
think it's like the other way around. I don't know which came first, the chicken or the egg, because I had my radio show when I was 16, the New It Too, every Sunday, and I really don't know what came first. I really don't know. I mean, I started acting and doing like community theater and school theater at like 5 years old. It kind of all happened around the same time. They all kind of foster one another. I don't mind getting up on a stage and hosting a concert. And I don't mind getting behind a mic, and I don't mind getting in front of a camera. I don't know I think it's just my personality. I don't know if it necessarily plays into what helped what, though. I don't know. I don't think so.
And then juggle the two. I feel like you'd have to kind of push one way to push your acting career and then also being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, no, there's enough time in the day. I feel like I feel like so often, like I've seen so many men in my life, specifically older white men that have run multiple businesses, and nobody ever says like, wow, like how do you do that? But I do feel like for me as a young Black woman, at least I'm getting older now, so it's a little more helpful for people to conceptualize what I want to do. But I feel like as a Black woman, people constantly will be like, are you sure that's not too much for you? Are you sure you can do this? And it's like, it's been done before. Just no one that looks like me probably that you know. So I think there's enough time in the day. If you compartmentalize your day properly and you are focused, you can do it all. I mean, even while I was in the green room with you guys, I was answering emails.
Yeah, Pete.
Gotta be able to multitask.
Oh, he's gonna be on the hustle. That's great.
Yeah.
And with hitting the audience with the questions, Tina Jones, with advertising radio, do you find it difficult, or have you had to turn down ads that weren't socially responsible?
Hell yeah, we turned down. Oh my God, we turned down so many people. We turned down a lot of people because we have a brand to, you know, we have a reputation and a brand, and we are responsible for what people consume. As it comes to music, people get on my nerves with that conversation because, you know, well, we can talk about that later. But when it comes to advertising, yeah, we, as long as I've been alive, have always turned down people. Like, there's just certain things. We're a family radio station, not only family owned, but we want people that are, you know, of all ages to listen to us. And we don't want something to just pop up that is just, we don't want to promote anything that we don't support.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Beyond just choosing the ads, what are some other difficulties, or what has been one of the most difficult things about being an entrepreneur running your own radio station?
I don't know. I don't know what the most difficult thing is. I think difficulties have just become normal to me. I don't know what it's funny because like Sasha will always like laugh at me and she'll be like, you just do so much. And I like it's become, everything's just become so normal to me. I don't know any different. Difficulties are just any challenges that arise. I just, you know, you learn to move with them. It doesn't really faze me in any particular way, unless I just really haven't come in contact with any major difficulties. I guess like once I was given more responsibility, just the time management was just the hardest thing. But once I got that under control, once I just grew up a little bit more and stopped being immature, it really, time management is really essential. You know, now I guess that's it. That's the most difficult thing about being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I could see that from the time management. Even for now, for me, when I work this in and out of the hospital, the best thing for me. Do you feel like you ever need to take, especially now with all the stress going on, like a mental break? Do you work that into your schedule?
Yeah, I mean, I just meditate in the morning. That's it. That's about it.
How
I
is
don't
it
know.
the classical kind of sitting and doing yoga? What does your meditation look like in the morning?
Yeah, so it depends on what my mood is when I wake up, you know. Sometimes it's just like a quick 10-15 minutes of just like silence, or I'll get like the little sound bowls going, like the little recording of it. Sometimes it'll be like a guided meditation where if there's something is heavy on my heart, I'll focus on that intention specifically. And I'll just carry that with me through the day. But yeah, it all depends on that when I wake up in the morning, you know. I try to use the first moments when I wake up, that's kind of my me time. The rest of it, I don't really, maybe I need to learn to really separate myself from work, but it's all one and the same, you know. I'm very passionate about it. And so I don't really ever feel the need to just be like, no, like everything needs to stop. I don't mind working if I'm on vacation. I don't mind working if I'm on set. I don't mind, you know, doing auditions while I'm in the office. Like all of it, I'm just really blessed and like very grateful for all of it. So
Hey, it's one fluid thing.
yeah.
Doing it doesn't feel like work. I can see that.
Yeah, it's just regular.
And in general, moving through kind of speaking about reacting to the pandemic and dealing with the stresses during the pandemic, How have you been guiding the radio station during the pandemic? Has it been changing at all? Have you?
Yeah. So we had to look at one. You have to look at programming differently because people's patterns and schedules have changed. So looking at that, looking at the messages that we give to people, because there's just been so much stress. There's been so much anxiety that people have just been dealing with. And you got your kids at home, maybe you're taking care of your parents too, or you're an elder. There's so many different factors that we have to take into consideration. So we even started putting like little bells on in the morning for kids, like, hey, like it's time to go to school. Like, I don't know if you noticed what time it was. Or we have the affirmations, we have the motivational quotes. We have different pastors come on and just give quick little encouraging words. And then we also have the mayor of the city. Since COVID started, we've been the first town hall meeting was on the station, because we were trying to figure out how are people, they forget, sometimes I feel like not everyone, I think sometimes we forget our privileges, just even being able to do this on a phone, on Instagram. Not everybody, using Wi-Fi, not everybody has those luxuries, man. Like, and I think people forget that quickly. And I think that's the beauty of radio, is that it's free and anyone can listen. So we started hosting town hall meetings every Friday. We did, the first one was 2 hours, and I had, the mayor, the police chief, the fire chief, the health, people from the health department, people from, we had a epidemiologist on, is that how you say it? Epidemiologist?
Oh,
Thank you. And then we just continue that weekly, every Friday. Whenever people have questions, we take them directly to the mayor. When people have concerns, we take them directly to the police department. And even like, I don't know if you saw what happened in Rochester now, but making sure that we're constantly reinforcing, we give a voice to the unheard, constantly making sure that our voices are heard and heard by the right people. So we've just been streamlining and giving as much information as we possibly can, because there's so much uncertainty right now. People don't know where to turn. People are afraid to trust right now, especially dealing with like the police and government. And we want to just give as much information to everyone as possible, and they can do with it as they see fit.
Awesome. That's amazing. Really giving the voice to the people in general. Do you mind speaking a little bit more to the protests that have been going on in Rochester, just for our audience, because they can kind of caught up
Yeah,
too?
man. So as far as I know, there was a gentleman, Daniel Prue. He was having kind of like a mental health breakdown. His family called 911. The police arrived, and he was naked, and he was obviously not in the right mental state. They had him lay on the ground. He's butt naked. Mind you, Rochester, so we're up by Canada. We're not near the city. So it's cold as hell in March. And this is when this happened. This happened at the end of March 23rd, I believe it was. They had him lay naked on the ground. They didn't put a blanket down or anything. Then they're saying that he started spitting when they were trying to arrest him, which I didn't really see that part of the video, but they put a spit bag over his head. Come to find out, he died from suffocation at the hands of police, and it was deemed as a homicide. But nobody found out about this until the top of, I think it was August, when when his family had released the video. And so we've just been experiencing a lot of disappointment. We've been experiencing a lot of distrust. Like, I'm sure you know what it's like, in New York too, but we don't have the police doesn't have the best relationship with Black communities across the country. So like, you kind of already know as Black people, we kind of know the unspoken code, or if it's taught to us when we're young, how to really deal with police. So this was just like really jarring for everyone, especially for it to be like on a national level. But yeah, so we had, as soon as like the public, we found out, we brought the mayor on, and we were like, yo, what is going on?
Yeah.
So that's all we can do, is just be a platform.
And so how do you feel like the community from what you've been doing, how do you feel like the community engagement has changed in response to it, in terms of the community getting in touch with the mayor, the police force, and their willingness to change after all these things?
Yeah, I feel like that's a layered question. Um, I think often when it comes to these things, we want to like point to someone and say like, how are you going to change? But it's a system at large that we're all victim to. We're all pawns in this game, you know. So we can point to someone and say like, what are you going to do to fix this? When it's really a communal effort. All of us have a responsibility in this, but I don't think we all understand what our responsibility is and what our power really is in this, because we don't really, like, a lot of people don't know how things work. So I understand people are frustrated, people are angry, and people don't know what to do, but it doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of direction right now as to how to change things. Like we were saying with acting, like, you know, is this going to be like a trend, and then they'll do some type of distraction, and 5 years later things will be just as they were, you know, before? Or are there going to be concrete changes that we see? To put that responsibility on just one or two people that are within a system, I don't see that the change happening. I just don't. So I do feel like the community has been extremely engaged. I just love to see people out in the streets. I love to see the very beautiful. It's almost become artistic, the protests. They've been so like, it's like, did you see? I don't know if you saw them, but there were people out in front of the city hall, like with bags over their heads, like laying naked in front of city hall. And I was like, wow, like, yes, like we're getting attention, but how do we enact change from that? You know, Rochester is a very beautiful and creative community. We have thousands of creative minds there, creative spirits, but how are we going to translate that creativity into concrete change? We're figuring it out. I don't know.
So to remind everybody, we're doing our second part of Black Businesses here with the lovely Miss Darling, telling us what's going on with her entrepreneurial adventures as a radio show owner in Rochester. We really appreciate you being here. And so kind of continuing on that story, reminding everyone to continue asking questions. I see that the Rochester police chief resigned recently.
Yeah. No, the whole top command resigned. They all retired.
Oh,
like
wow.
All the top people. Yeah. It was crazy.
And so this is all in response specifically to this incident, correct?
Daniel Prude, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what the next plans are? Are they just going to put somebody else in those places? Are they tearing
They
down?
don't have no plans. They don't have no plans right now. No. I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do. I don't think she had an interim like chief in place, because who knew this was gonna happen? So I don't really know what it's gonna look like for Rochester, you know. But you know what I do? I just did an interview with the Black News Network earlier this week. They're very dope too. You should check them out. Black owned news channel. But I was talking to them about it, where it's like, I think if the beginning of changes are going to start, it would be really like effective to make sure that the people that are serving and protecting this community are from the community, live in the community, are involved with the community. You can't have someone that lives like 10 minutes outside the city that comes in and like doesn't understand our culture or our people, you know? So, I mean, I ain't got nothing to do with hiring a new chief or anything, but I just think the